What's up, everybody? Today we're going to talk about how to be a great podcast guest. This is so very important. As a former podcast host myself, I know. What's up, everybody? Today we're going to talk about how to be a great podcast guest. This is so stinking important. As a podcast host myself, I know the difference between somebody who respects being the guest and somebody who just thinks that this is something fun to do. Well, let me tell you, if you are invited to be on someone's podcast, to be a guest on their show, it's like you're being welcomed into their home. You best respect it. And so here's some tips on how you can show up in your environment physically and how you can show up mentally to be the very best podcast to help the host with their show so that you can really give them something of value. So here's a couple of tips I've got for you. Number one, computer. If it's a video podcast, make sure your computer is set up at eye level so that you're looking at that instead of looking down at them or looking off to the side. Please set it up right here so that you've got the best view and they can see your face. Microphone. Get a good microphone. The very best that you can do. If all you got is earbuds or your Apple, earbud things, then use that. If you've got a microphone, use it, test it, and make sure that you've got the very best setup that you can have so that you give them the best audio quality that they've got. I did a couple podcasts this year where I actually had this turned up, the gain turned up way too much on it, and it created this terrible sound on the other side, and I didn't even know it, and they didn't ask me about it until I heard it live, and I was like, oh my goodness, it sounds terrible, and that's my fault. That's not theirs, that's on me. I also always have a notebook next to me, something right here next to me so that I can jot down notes if something comes to mind and I want to write it down. If I know that there's a point that I want to say, then I write it down next to me. I've got that here. I've got my water right here, and I always put a napkin under it, some sort of cloth under it, so that when I drink from it, I don't make that sound when I put it down. I put a cloth under it so that when I put it down, you can't even hear it. All of this matters, and it makes the final product really great or really terrible. Now, listen to this chair. This is not a good chair to have with me. Can you hear the creaking? So, my goodness, I better test that and bring in a better chair that's going to be way more comfortable and not make a sound when I'm moving around. All of these are sound issues and environment issues that can help you be the best guest for that host. Now, here's a couple of ways that you can show up and really help move the conversation forward. 4 L words, all right? You with me on this? Let's write these ones down. I want you to listen, to laugh, to learn, and to lift up. Now let's talk about them. Listen. Look, a lot of podcast guests come on and all that they want to do is talk, and they want to share their own thing. They want to tell you exactly what they want to tell you. They want to sell their product, whatever it is, and they're going through their own methods, their own list, and they don't listen to what's being asked of them. As a guest, will you please listen to the question being asked and answer it? You can plug your own stuff in there. I mean, that's part of the skill of just being a good communicator, is working in what you want to say, but please listen to the question being asked and answer it, because that's where the host wants to go, and you're there as a guest. Don't try to push your agenda, just listen to the question and answer it however you can. That's how you listen. How about laughing? Most podcasts are better when you're laughing. This is a good conversation, so go on and be prepared to laugh. Laugh at yourself. Don't freak out. It's just a conversation between two people. Most podcasts, that's what it's supposed to be, is like you're sitting in on a conversation in a coffee shop. And what do you want to do in a good conversation? You want to laugh a little. So laugh. Have some fun with it. Tell funny stories. Whatever you've got, but laugh, because it's always good as a listener to hear people laughing together. I want you to learn. You're not there just to teach. I want you to ask a question from the host as well. Come in prepared to ask a couple of questions. Follow up. If they've got something, they ask you a question, why don't you ask something back? You're not there just to teach, but you actually have a really good opportunity to learn something as well. And here's the thing. if you as the guest are learning, then you better believe that the audience is going to learn as well. And it's a great opportunity to lift that host up and help them be seen as more of the expert, which brings us to the last one, lift up. If you're the guest, you have every opportunity to lift this host up, to tell them how awesome they are, how much you respect them, how great the conversation was, how they asked really great questions. Take this opportunity to lift them up, because you know that they're going to be wondering if they did a good job as a host before this or during the call, if they did everything right. Just use this as an opportunity to say, whether it's publicly in the interview or it's after the recording is done, tell them that they did a good job and that you really enjoyed the time. That's how you be a great podcast guest. Take care of your environment, take care of how you show up in your mental state, and really show up to help the podcast, their audience, have a great time with this interview. In another video, I'll talk about how to be a great podcast host, and you might see some similarities there. All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye.